stepping up to the occasion, and it's glad to be able to see a team go that high. We saw an M5, Days Volts from Russia, able to kind of climb up there. And now we're getting to see FLUX Esports rising to this occasion as well. That was Russia first, and now Turkey, showing you that their meta's evolving, their teams are getting better, and they're providing a decent competition to some of the more prominent regions for the side of MLBB, especially Indonesia and the Philippines. But you mentioned ONIC. I mean, they're a stacked team. I mean, they've got Kyrie dominating. You know, you've got Keyboy representing that Rome position. It's definitely going to be a problem. Now, I will say, though, for ONIC, just a little bit of a recap for those who are just now jumping into the show. They were able to take down Team Flash. They beat them 2-0, and then they also went up against Burnex Flash. So I'd say they beat the Flash brothers, able to take them down. They moved on forward. They went up against RCC, and it was 2-1. So we got to see them be able to turn that in their favor and close out that series. And now we definitely have some more gameplay in store. I can't wait to see how they do head-to-head up against FLUX Esports.
Yeah.
In a world that seeks a balance between metaverses and healthy lifestyle, video games and traditional sport, live shows and web entertainment, we found the only way to harmony. Introducing a new era in the realm of sports, Phygital, a revolutionary fusion of the physical and digital worlds. This is an unparalleled mix of the most exhilarating and dynamic youth sports disciplines, all integrated with popular video games and cutting-edge technological devices. This unique sports format is accessible to all. Anyone can participate in Phygital competitions. Any sport has the potential to evolve into a Phygital experience. Football, basketball, hockey, racing, martial arts, shooters, and many other sports have successfully adapted to the new reality. The 2024 Games of the Future is a global multi-sport event that represents the pinnacle of Phygital sports worldwide. The event is attended by best clubs and teams, bringing together 2,000 participants from over 100 countries. It marks the beginning of a series of top Phygital tournaments that will take place annually worldwide. The current official program of Games of the Future includes 21 innovative disciplines. They are classified into 5 groups, which we refer to as challenges: sports, technology, speed, tactics, and strategies, openness, show, fun, and healthy lifestyle. Coming our way is the exciting Phygital era. So stay tuned, join our global Phygital community, and come over to the upcoming Games of the Future. Emerge as winners and heroes of the new era. Games of the Future, made for young generations.
And we are back after that brief intermission. Some crazy gameplay went down in the first series for today in the semifinals of the Future 2024. RRQ Hoshi out from Indonesia, falling to the last team from the Philippines, the world champions, claiming victory in M5, now claiming victory again in the 2-1 lead. Now moving on to the first seat of the grand finals. Now we have another spicy match of the day. We are going to be looking at FLUX Esports going head-to-head up against ONIC in a best-of-3, and they will be able to fight it out to claim that last spot in the grand finals. Who will be able to move on forward? Will it be ONIC? Will it be FLUX Esports? Time will tell.
Well, this is going to be an entirely different dynamic from what we saw in our first series, right? So there's a lot of, I would say there's a lot of action, and there's a big emphasis on the laning matchups for series number 1. But I think in this particular series, for FLUX going up against ONIC, it's more of a teamfight base. Well, at least on the side of FLUX. It's what I noticed about the way they're drafting. It's almost as if they want to really focus on overall or teamfight-oriented lineup. Like it's more of a 5v5, an aggressive version of Ube, as we called it from before. Now, if you're looking at ONIC, this is a team where you really don't know what they're gonna be picking up. They're just really, really crazy about their picks. I mean, you know, the general 6 heroes that they'll pick per role, but you don't really know which one is which. And there will be a lot of flexible pickups. So, it was evident in series number 1, where there are also like flex picks, but I think even more so for ONIC, that's just how they operate. They're going to be picking up Arlott, which is a flex. They're going to be picking up Ruby for sure, which is either EXP or going to be the Rome, they're the team that picks up Kadira because you can pick Kadira in positions 4 and 5. So there's a lot of like flexibility that you can expect from ONIC.
Yeah, definitely a lot of flexibility. And, we kind of talked about the path of ONIC so far inside of Game of Futures 2024, all the way from group stage until now. Now taking a look at FLUX Esports and their journey. So they actually did take a loss. A correction on that. They lost to Blacklist in game number 1 for their group phase.
Yeah.
It was 2-0 sweep. They decided to go in for the double mage. They ran in for the Lunox and the Aurora combination. They had the carry inside of the gold lane and the Barats in the jungle. Ruby walking in that roam position. It didn't really work in their favor, though, or actually walking in the XP lane position. You got to see Blacklist pretty much dominate them there. It was a decent match, still, 20-minute game. I would say it was a little on the later side of things. And then game number 2, you got to see Blacklist pretty much just breeze through them with a 12-minute finish. But they had a really good story build-up, right? They went from there. They had to go fight it in the losers bracket over there for group stage. They went up against Burnix Flash. Took him down 2-0. Great gameplay. They didn't go for the double mage meta. They went in for the Nana. Had a couple of those staple picks, such as that Claude, that Export, that Minotaur. And they were able to push through with both 14-minute games, making them be able to sit inside of the playoffs, getting the seeding there. They were able to kind of fight it out, and they took down Nightmare. They were able to shut him down 2-0, fresh off a sweep. And then they got another sweep on top of that, just stacking up these victories. Revenge to Blacklist, taking them down first inside of group stage for Game of Futures 2024, getting their sweet revenge over there inside of the quarterfinals, able to shut them out with a 2-0 sweep. And now, hey, here we are, another shot to be able to earn that spot into the grand finals today. And they're definitely showcasing their mastery so far and how much they've improved this year alone.
Yeah, I think if you're looking at FLUX, they have a set style of play, which is they really want to rely on their 4 protect 1, meaning to say like they really want to put all of their basket in this gold laner, and then slowly build up from there, like group up and then slowly just farm up on their gold laner and then eventually take over the late game. But they have a little bit of a curveball wherein sometimes they utilize their jungler in an aggressive manner. Sometimes they go for the Guinevere that can set up plays. Sometimes they go Martis Nolan, which allows them to have a faster pace approaching the matches. So they have that kind of play with their 4 protect 1 strategy. And I'm saying this because that is definitely something that we have to be looking for in this matchup. What will be the gold lane versus gold lane matchup with ONIC being in there? Knowing ONIC, they like to play weird gold laners like Harith. Well, if you think about it, Harith is no longer weird because of how much they picked it up. So those kinds of heroes where there's no actual counter to the laning stage to it, like your Nathan as well as your Harith, something that we can expect from ONIC. Whereas for instead of FLUX, they might just go for the typical route of your classic 4 protect 1 marksman, like the Claude, for example, or maybe eventually a carry. But those heroes that generally have a smooth transition from the mid game to the late game and have a lot of impact in those critical Lord fights. So if there's anything that we have to be looking out for is how these two teams answer the gold lane.
And I definitely agree with you on that. I mean, I would say when it comes to ONIC versus FLUX Esports, like you mentioned, they're a team that goes more staple choices. They go for more of just common trend meta across the board. Like, you can pretty much predict the way their draft is going to go, whereas I feel like ONIC is definitely a little bit more creative, a little bit more three-dimensional when it comes to drafting, being able to pull off things like the Harith pickup in the gold lane. Not really something we've seen the side of FLUX Esports take the risk on. But speaking of FLUX Esports, able to take down Blacklist, one of the most decorated teams inside the Philippines. As you are looking at their roster, Rosa dominating so far inside of that mid lane position. Alien coming alive from the XP. Sunshine for the gold lane. Apex 47 with the big sets as their roamer and TNZ. Definitely dominating as well, having a really good game in the jungle. Straight out of Turkey, too. Really excited to see this region compete today. They've been performing so well in the Game of Futures 2024.
4 picks for the Claude. They are very successful with it. That's at least in the playoffs, we've seen 3 Claude pickups from FLUX Esports, all of them W's, and that's also very true for the export. So, like we mentioned, the 4 Protect 1 kind of marksman choices will be Fireflux's priority, and that's something that you should be looking at if you're ONIC. I gotta say though, one player that I'm very excited to see is Rosa, and this will not be the first time that I will be saying that I'm a fan. That Rosa actually converted me into a fan back in M4 because of how well he plays and how reminiscent he is of how Haji plays from before, like the very aggressive version of Haji. Now he might have oversped compared to Haji, but man, I love how Rosa's playing.
Yeah, speaking of players, now taking a look at ONIC, the last team standing from Indonesia with one of the most decorated teams and flashiest players, Kyrie, inside of the jungle. The man can do it all. Boots in the XP lane as well. You are looking at Sands running in that mid lane, and Keyboy. Let's not even get started on the sets that you see him do in the Land of Dawn. And then side by side with our gold laner himself, Albert in the building.
Yeah, you can see that there's a lot of like similarities in some of their players, particularly from Apex and Keyboy. The way that they're playing, they really are on point when it comes to their team fight initiations. But the crucial player now that you have to talk about for ONIC is, interestingly, Albert this time, because I'm not entirely sure if Albert is the choice because they have CW. I believe he's in the same venue anyway, so they can utilize him. And we will yet to see who will be the choice for the gold lane. Well, obviously, Albert being in here means that he might play for the first game, to the very least for ONIC. And the heroes that you look for when you see Albert is Harith. But of course, the Claude is also a hero that that he also plays a lot, so that could be a potential here for ONIC.
And you make a good point. I mean, they do have CW sitting on the bench, ready to jump into the Land of Dawn and wreak some havoc over there in the gold lane. He is currently on backup in case he is needed, and definitely somebody to watch out for. I wouldn't even consider him a bench player with his execution and how well he plays in that gold lane. I mean, he's just on a little extended vacation right now. He's just letting them play it out, just relaxing. I mean, he trusts in his team to be able to get the job done. Definitely waiting for the opportunity to step into the occasion, though. But you are going to see Albert kind of taking that position for now. Now, you mentioned Rosa converting you in M4. I definitely agree with you. It's been a really strong player so far in Game of Futures 2024. Some of the pickups that we got to see on Rosa. We got to see the Vexana come out. We got to see the Navaria get slid in as well. Two kind of staple mages. We also got to see, and these are mages that kind of play from afar, right? I mean, I guess you could say the Faramis can play up close, but usually he's just trying to stay around the team and provide that utility. The Navaria is another utility pickup, right? Play from afar, get the Astro Echo out, provide the slow, and maybe get that Astro Meteor out or a possible snipe for a pickoff. But the thing about Rosa is Rosa switches it up. He does not only play marksmen from afar, but he knows personal, and we got to see that. When they were going up against Blacklist International, he pulled out the Valentina, he pulled out the Lilia, and he performed.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. He's going to be playing up against one player that has been dubbed by numerous other legendary players as a genius in the mid lane. And in general, as a player, that's Sans. It's a tall task to go up against Sans. And you would think that Sans has already reached his peak, but no. Back in M5, we know for sure that if there's someone that we can isolate for ONIC that's performing consistently at the top level, that's always Sans. The way that he plays this mid lane from a variety, a spectrum of playstyle, actually. He can play safe, he can play passive in the backlines, he can play aggressive, he can play assassin mages, he can play almost any kind of play from a mage at a high level. And he's going up against Rosa. I think this might be one of the first, if not the first time that these two will meet. And I wonder how, my personal bias, Rosa, gonna pit up against one of the legendary players who's still playing right now, a genius at the mid lane. That's going to be Sans versus Rosa. That is a matchup that I'm very excited to see.
A tall task, as you stated, but definitely Rosa is one of those players who can rise to the occasion and shock the world. And I'm right there with you. I want to see how this kind of plays out. Will Rosa be able to kind of have the advantage over Sans? Like you said, a lot of players kind of put him on that podium or that pedestal above them with how well he usually performs. Now, another player to kind of keep a close eye on, though, over there for the side of ONIC is Boots, right? He's been explosive in Game of Futures 2024. We've been seeing him create the opportunity, kind of similar to Banana, being able to split push, always rotating around the map, creating that opportunity for these neutral objectives. And to be honest with you, the most profit that he gets off of so far for Game of Futures 2024 is his Lapu. It has been a problem. And I really want to see if they're going to let it walk. Are they going to be able to kind of keep up with it? Because usually when he picks up that Lapu, it's almost a guaranteed win.
Yeah. You can see that at least for ONIC, right? It's a 19-minute win with the Lapu up against RCC. And then the group stages, he did play a lot. Boots has recovered. I mean, there was a lot of criticism towards Boots during M5, especially in the championship. I was able to talk to many many players, and there was so many content that went around the globe, essentially, putting a lot of criticism on towards what Boots was able to do. And even him, he had a podcast with Emperor, if I'm not mistaken, a 1v1 where he admitted that there was a little bit of there was a little bit of problem on his side when it comes to performing. But right now in Games of the Future, I gotta say that that's already erased. I don't think that it is anymore a factor. I think that he's playing so well. Apart from that one loss that they've had against RCC, which really came to a shock to almost everyone watching. Everybody from ONIC is just on point this time. They woke up and they're just really pulling their weight. Nobody is a dead weight on the side of ONIC, I would say.
Yeah, definitely not dead weight. And I will say, honestly, even in the game that they lost against RCC, they were winning majority of the game. I mean, they took most of the neutral objectives. They led in the early phase, the mid phase. It was literally down to just one misplay on a Lord that costed them that, or they would have been able to take that one as well. So I would say definitely having to be able to close it out when they have that massive advantage kind of is what they struggled on, at least in the last series that we've seen them play in up against RCC out from Russia. FLUX Esports, though, I mean, they're a team that knows how to take it up close and personal. Speaking of them, there it goes, Rosa. You talked about it, definitely warmed your heart since seeing him in M4.
Yes, sir.
TNZ over there, definitely being a key role into this team. They're being bad in the building as well. Apex 47. Definitely having those sets that the team is looking for. Hotter than ever. That fire burns behind them. Leading the banners out from Turkey. Will they be able to rise to the occasion? This may be their hardest challenge yet. They were able to shut down Blacklist, shut down one of the most decorated teams out from the Philippines. Now, going up against the most decorated team, or one of the most decorated teams out from Indonesia. Can they shut down ONIC?
Tall task is going to be an understatement in this kind of challenge for FLUX. But if anything, FLUX has always turned heads. Ever since M4, everybody's now looking at them. And now their opponent's ONIC.
Yeah, Sands stepping up to the scene, ready to take this fight into the land of Don Keyboy. Right beside him in the roam position, Boots on the Lapu. Slam dunk. Strike cam over there is the way he's been performing. Kyrie, King of the Skies, able to do anything. And CW, kind of chillaxing, relaxing in the background. Albert taking his position in the gold lane for today's game. ONIC, out from Indonesia, the last Indonesia team standing in Game of Futures 2024.
All right. Gonna be Albert manning the gold lane for now, going up against Sunshine, which there's a lot of criticism as well. You know, I'm picking my words lightly here, but yeah, I think I'd go with that. There's a lot of criticisms onto Albert as well, but I think that there's something that ONIC ONIC as a team were able to discover in the off season that we've had right after M5. I've heard that they really never really stopped like training. So they went back to training very early in January, which meant that they were able to swap players around. And this time, we know Albert has played so many roles already for ONIC. Back in MPL season 12, he went and played jungle. He played gold as well, and he also played mid lane, if I'm not mistaken. So he got through the gauntlet, and now ONIC kind of felt like, okay, maybe Albert belongs in the gold lane. Maybe he can actually play in the gold lane. That's the thing, right? Everybody from ONIC is very difficult to replace. I mean, how do you replace Kyrie, right? That guy is just, that guy's cracked. Then if you're going to be looking at the mid lane, how do you replace Sal? Sal's a genius. And even CW has his own merits in the game. It's difficult. In fact, when Albert went here to ONIC, I'm just really, it's like, those memes where you're like, what's his name? The basketball player, young meme, where he's like, what was that kind of play? Where
Oh yeah, I've seen it with the question marks.
Nick Young, yeah, like
Yep.
the question mark, like why do you do that? But well, it took a lot of time, but maybe they have figured it out. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. And, I'm going to be paying close attention to Albert, especially with CW sitting on the back end. He's honestly one of those marksmen that aren't really replaceable. And to see him not performing definitely says a lot about Albert rising to the occasion. But speaking of the gold laners, I mean, it is going to be him up against Sunshine. Sunshine, we kind of mentioned the hero pool from the side of FLUX Esports. You mentioned them being very team clash oriented on the way they like to focus in on the draft and jump into the land of Dawn. And they go for more of what I would consider textbook meta, right? Those staple marksmen, like you said, the Claude, the carry, is usually what they kind of prioritize. And for the side of ONIC, they're a little different, right? They're not afraid to take it a little bit to that higher level. There's three-dimensional drafting, pulling out that Harith, you name it, it can definitely go there. Can Sunshine keep up with Albert with the three-dimensional drafting inside of the gold lane?
Yeah, I like it. This is the first time I'm hearing of three-dimensional drafting. Did you coin that? Whoever coined that, that's I love it. I love it. It really describes the way that ONIC is drafting, particularly with the leadership of Coach Yeb. However, I gotta say that it is confirmed that it's Adi who actually is the head coach for now, or at least for games of the future. So he's leading the pack when it comes to drafting. But obviously, that's generally how ONIC esports think about the draft. Three-dimensional drafting. I think that's the perfect visualization of how they think about and approach the drafting.
It's funny. I can't coin it. I didn't make it up. I actually got it from Trex, one of our casters. I mean, you've seen him in the M series. I'm going to let him coin that one. I don't want to stamp something. But he definitely makes a good point with the three-dimensional drafting. Usually, like you said, it's teams that we see that are not afraid to kind of experiment and go above the meta and create their own. And that's what we see from the side of ONIC time and time again as they perform. And then also, I mean, you get to see Kyrie in the jungle. He's one of the most flashiest junglers that we've ever seen. The way he moves around the map is almost unmatchable. Like you said, all these players on ONIC pretty much irreplaceable with how well they kind of perform on the world stage. And today, we're going to witness greatness in the making from ONIC, but also from the side of Turkey, FLUX Esports. They are kind of rising to the occasion, right? I would say their story is a little bit better than ONIC right now in Game of Futures 2024 because we normally see ONIC do really well and go this high. As FLUX Esports, a newer region to the scene, definitely a little bit more challenging to kind of take down some of these prominent regions, such as the Philippines, such as Indonesia. And speaking of both of these amazing teams, jumping into the draft now, and it looks like first priority pick will go to the side of FLUX Esports. ONIC will be second in the draft, and wasting no time, FLUX takes out the Nolan, ONIC takes out the Guinevere.
Wow. Vixana being banned out earlier on from FLUX Esports. What have they seen? This is actually a surprise. But of course, they are prepared. They have prepared for this. I'm looking at the past games of ONIC where they actually prioritize Vixana. I might just look back at the group stages where they picked it up. Well, they combo that with typically the Harith. And I have a half the mind for FLUX to actually take out that Harith, but instead they banned the supplementary heroes for the Harith. So that's a valid decision from FLUX. They might pick up Ruby as their priority though. So far, that's what they really like.
You know, and it's interesting too because the way this draft is going out, at least for the ban phase, this is new for FLUX Esport. They're definitely going more for comfort bans from doing a little bit of research on ONIC. They have such a high hero pool that they definitely have some other answers on the table. But this is the first time we're actually seeing them ban in this order outside of the Mathilda when they have first pick. Guinevere has been taken off the table. I think it's such a strong denial for that to be able to walk. Now, there are some pickups that can be slotted in. The Faramis is actually walking so far. And normally, we see FLUX ban that out within the first phase of the draft. With that walking on the table, though, do they pick it up? Or do they risk the chance of ONIC taking that away from them?
Beautiful first pick coming up from FLUX. Instead of going for the Ruby, they went in for Nana. Also a hero that ONIC likes to play. And generally a hero that answers the playstyle of ONIC. Because ONIC, they're like that kind of team that wants to go up close and personal, right? They want to go in and initiate. Nana stops that. And obviously Rosa has been phenomenal with this hero. Great job of FLUX. ONIC might still go for Ruby though. And usually what you pick up in this case is the Baksha. So maybe that is the choice for ONIC, like Baksha plus Ruby, or Baksha plus Harith. Well, it's carry immediately from ONIC. Wow.
That's a little surprising. Now, yeah, that is interesting because I guess, I mean, they're trying to take some of the marksmans away because, like I said, they're more of a staple meta type team for FLUX Esports. So I could possibly be seeing that. I am a little shocked on it, though, this early. The Ruby maybe slotted in that roam position, still can be the XP. Like we said, Boots, normally he's been favoring that Lapu, but with the Ruby in the mix, I think it's a safer option for him right now, kind of trying to read out the draft. Not too many heroes can really go toe-to-toe with the Ruby in the XP lane, able to kind of sustain even dive compositions. It works well against. But FLUX Esports, I mean, they pick up the Nana. That's some great early game damage. You mentioned it being a great denial to not allow ONIC to pick that up. And I think they're off to a good start. Now, there are still some options on the table on what they can pick up. Minotaur and the Claude.
Yeah, Minotaur, the Apex 47 special. And they take away the Minotaur as well from ONIC. We know for sure that it's great against the Claude. So it's, I mean, and the Ruby can be played in the EXP lane as well. We know for sure that FLUX really likes this Claude anyway, so they're going to be picking it up. This is comfort pickups coming up from FLUX Esports. Now, ONIC, they might swing it and pick up the Grok as their last pick because Grok just works well against this Claude. Great staying power against Minotaur-based compositions, and at the same time, you have a way to apply vision to look for the Nana because Grok is very tanky in that regard. However, ONIC will then secure the Lilia first, making it so that their potential with the Ruby plus the Lilia, if ever they pick up this Ruby for Keyboy, Lilia plus the Ruby is such a strong mid lane duo that can be a problem for the Minotaur walking around the river.
Now, if history repeats itself, looking from the side of FLUX Esports, if it's not banned out, I think they're going to go for the signature export pick. Definitely can work in their favor and something they're a little bit more comfortable on. I mean, it seems like they're kind of leaning into their comfortability with this draft, right? Like you said, a staple pick from Apex 47 on the Minotaur. One of those marksmen that we see time and time again with the Claude, especially with the carry not being available. That's probably Sunshine's next best answer. The export does get banned out, though. ONIC with the good read for the denial. And FLUX responds back, taking out the Barats.
Yeah. Maybe a Baksha again for as the last ban for FLUX Esports. So ONIC, we're looking for your alien heroes. Maybe Arlet. It's also a hero that that FLUX Esports likes to play. They also pick up Phoveus. In fact, that's a surprise. But maybe in this particular game, maybe that's not going to be the case. When they played up against Blacklist, it was Dyroth actually that they went in with. Maybe because Blacklist went in for the Baksha. So instead, it's the Fredrin ban coming out from ONIC. Interesting choice. Yep.
There's another pickup there. The CC is still on the table to be picked up. I just realized that walkthrough.